If you've ever wished you had a podcasting pro with nearly a decade of experience whispering growth secrets into your ear, that's exactly what you'll get when you tune into Podcast Growth Tools with me, your host, Kylee Chandler. This is the ultimate show for you if you're ready to grow your podcast audience, skyrocket engagement, and turn your show into a traffic-driving, list-building powerhouse. I've been in the podcasting world since 2015, helping creators like Amy Porterfield grow their shows to over 1 million downloads a month. My superpower? Breaking down proven podcast strategies and marketing techniques into step-by-step guidance you can actually implement without fluff, overwhelm, or guesswork. On this show, we're getting real about what actually moves the needle when it comes to growing your podcast audience and using it to boost your email list growth. From actionable insights and expert interviews to behind-the-scenes secrets, I'll help you turn your podcast into a traffic-driving, list-growing machine. Grab your earbuds, hit subscribe, and let's take your podcast to the next level. Hey friends, and welcome back. Now, if you've ever wondered, how do I get more of my podcast listeners onto my email list? Or how can I turn my email subscribers into diehard podcast fans? Then this episode is perfect for you. Because here's the thing, podcast downloads alone are outdated as a primary metric of measuring podcast success. You don't own those listeners, but you do own your email list. Your email list is a direct line to your audience where you can build trust, you can provide value, and ultimately you can turn those loyal listeners, clients, and customers into paying super fans. So today I am sharing 10 proven strategies to build both your podcast audience and your email list simultaneously. Now, this year, 2025, I believe we need to start really focusing on how we can do just that. Grow these things together. Your podcast should be a direct link to your email list and vice versa, right? Your email list should also be great at driving downloads to your podcast. So really, when we put them together, it's a magical solution. And this year, I want to make sure that you guys are really keeping that in the back of your mind at all times whenever you're creating content, whenever you're thinking about your marketing strategy, whenever you're creating a promo for your podcast or anything like that. Okay, so grab a notebook or the notes app on your phone because this is going to get really step by step. It's going to get tactical. I'm going to give you really strong, proven step by step strategies. So, if you're loving these strategies and want a step by step guide to implementing them, go ahead, grab my free podcast and email list growth playbook. It's packed with checklists, ad scripts, templates, everything you need to help grow your audience with ease. And when I say grow audience, I'm talking about podcasts and I'm talking about your email list. So you can head to podcastmarketinghub.com/playbook to download it. That's podcastmarketinghub.com/playbook. And of course, that's free. So go ahead and enjoy that. So first, what I think is important is that we reframe how we are thinking about podcast growth. Podcast downloads don't give you direct access to your audience. As much as we wish they did, as much as we like to think they do, they don't. But like I said, your email list does. When somebody joins your list, they're showing intent. They're interested in hearing more from you, right? So your goal should be create an intentional strategy to consistently move podcast listeners onto your email list and email list subscribers onto your podcast. So today's strategies are going to help you do all of that. And one thing I want to just say is if you are somebody who is just starting out, or even if you are getting 20,000 downloads an episode, or if you're getting 5,000 downloads an episode, some of the biggest podcast names that you would recognize I have talked to, and I want to let you in on a little secret. So I've worked with big name podcasters, and it's interesting because some of them aren't paying attention at all to their email list, and they have these massive podcast audience. So This is something that even if you're small, you should start doing right now. You should be connecting these as much as possible so that you don't get to the point where you're at a million downloads and you're going, oh crap, I haven't gotten anyone on my email list. There's no one to talk to on the other side, and then you end up coming to people like me being like, we need to grow this together. So start this early, use these strategies. You're never too small to be doing this. You're never too big to even be implementing this. So I just wanted to put that out there. Okay, so let's get into the strategies. So strategy number one, run either dynamic or baked in ads for your lead magnets. So, yes, you can and you should be running dynamic ads to your stuff, your freebies, your lead magnets. But my tip for you is make sure that it's aligned with the content of the episode, or if your brand focuses on like 3 or 4 core topics, make sure it aligns with those. So, for example, this episode, we're focusing on growing your podcast and your email list simultaneously. So, I'm giving you a free playbook that basically breaks down these strategies into a little bit more detail with a couple templates and things like that, right? So, it's very aligned with the content. It doesn't throw you for a loop when I say, hey, I've got a free resource for you. Here you go. Like if I were to say, oh, by the way, I am giving away a freebie on how to clean your RV, something like that. So again, keep it really succinct with your episode. If you can't do that, and if you're doing maybe a bigger strategy, then just make sure it aligns with some of your core topics as a brand. Now, what you'll learn about me is I know we're only on episode 8 or something like that, but there's 2 things that you are going to learn about me. One, I like to keep things organized. I like to create a system. I'll repeat that to you often as I'm giving you strategies. The other thing is I want to track. I want us to track what we are doing to understand what is working. So you'll hear that throughout today's episode. You'll hear that through all of my episodes. So let's get back to it. But to keep what we are directly talking about, so your ads in your episode, whether they're baked in or whether they are dynamically inserted, create a just like a lead magnet ad planner. You can do this in Google Sheets, you can do it in Airtable, wherever. You can even do it in Asana if you wanted, or a project platform like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to have your episodes, you're going to have your ads, you're going to have which ads are in which episodes, you're going to do timestamps if they're baked in. You're going to do a link to the ad audio, like the finalized one. You're going to put dates. So you want dates where for they're running for this long, if they're going to be dynamic, things like that. In fact, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of what you might want this to look like. So be sure you grab that freebie, podcastmarketinghub.com/playbook, and you can see what I'm talking about for keeping this organized. Now, if you are using baked in ads, you could potentially, to keep this really organized, I'm sure, at least I hope, that you as a podcaster have like a master content planner document. So it's got your episodes, episode number, links, go live dates, guests, whatever. You can just add a column in that master organization doc or sheet or whatever it is, and basically put what the baked in ad is, a link to the baked in ad, and then again, timestamps. Because if you ever want to go in and remove those, I know it sounds like a big project, but sometimes it's happened. I've worked with podcasters where it's happened. You aren't trying to fish out where those are. You can go back and you can know exactly where the baked in ads are for removal. Okay, so pro tip, I love when we track things, right? So my recommendation for any type of lead magnet, especially if it's a dynamic ad, is to run that ad for a full month and track conversions. And you can do that by setting up a unique landing page for your podcast listeners, right? So if you are promoting this freebie on your website or on social media, don't just lump it all together. Make sure that you are creating a unique URL or a unique landing page specifically so you can understand what kind of traffic you're getting and the conversion rate. You must track these things, as this will help you understand not only what kind of conversion rate you're having, but what kind of content your audience wants. Like, this is a great way to get ideas for podcast episodes, for more lead magnets. So that's something to think about. Also, one thing I want to say is if you do have launches in your business, you should absolutely be using the strategy during that time to build your email list. So you would want to, if you have dynamic ads, you'd want to pause anything that's not launch related, and then you'll start using your launch ads throughout. But then when you're done with your launch, go ahead and turn those back on. And make sure that you are blocking out the dates of your launches and any organizational thing that you have ahead of time, so it's there. So you're not planning and then all of a sudden, oops, we double booked it. Okay, let's move on to strategy 2. Create lead magnet bundles for your best episodes. I've mentioned this before because I love this strategy, but you're going to take your top performing podcast episodes, you're going to bundle them into a free downloadable resource, basically a lead magnet, and then you're going to pull your top visited web pages. That means, of course, it's going to be like your homepage and stuff, but maybe there's other pages. If you have been creating show notes, you probably have some top rated web pages that are show notes. You might even have some surprising ones like a terms and conditions page, a careers page. Use those pages as well. Nothing is off limits. If it gets good visibility, if it's being visited by people, use it for the strategy. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to place a pop up or a banner. I generally like pop ups, sometimes banners, just depending on the context of the web page. But you're going to plant those on your most visited web pages with the freebie offer that I mentioned at the beginning of this strategy. Again, make sure that that freebie aligns as much as possible with the content of the page. For example, if it is a careers page, let's say a lot of people seem to be visiting your careers page. Maybe you are an entrepreneur and you've happened to do an episode about what it's like to work for you, or you've done an episode about lessons that you've learned working for somebody else that you now use or don't use within your business. Like, be thinking in that way. Now, again, talking about if you're doing a specific launch or a promo, you are going to want to take these down to make room for whatever it is that you're launching. But outside of any launch or any promos, you should be using this strategy. Okay, to take it a step further, think about promoting this bundle maybe on Instagram for like a mini chat funnel to capture emails while driving podcast traffic. So I have done this before. It's worked really well. We had really high conversions for a few of our kind of bundles that we created. And same thing, you are going to want to test these out. You're going to want to make sure you're tracking. You're paying attention to what's performing best and switch them out if they're not. Or if you just want to test things, say you've created 3 new bundles and you're not sure which one's going to perform best, do a week of each and see which one buffs out the best. So always be tracking. And again, make a Google Sheet or something where you can pay attention and you can keep everything organized so you know what web page has what pop up, how long it's running, what the results are. And then that is going to make it so much easier for you to switch them out, pay attention to tracking, all of that stuff. All right, strategy 3. So start a LinkedIn newsletter. Now, I know this won't work for every single company or every single brand. However, there are a lot of brands and personal brands and physical brands and SaaS companies that are on LinkedIn, and you can all utilize this strategy. So, first of all, you should actually be making sure that you're sending a weekly, if not monthly, newsletter to tell your subscribers about any new content that you've put on your podcast. So that's step 1. If you're not doing that, please, please, please make sure you are. I have resources about how to create really strong blockbuster newsletters. So be sure you reach out if you want more information on that. I will be happy to send it your way. Here's the thing. When you create that newsletter, whether it's like weekly or monthly, I know there's a lot of creators who do a monthly roundup, which is great as well. You are just going to take that newsletter and you're going to move it over to LinkedIn. Basically, you're going to upload it to LinkedIn. You need an image, but you can put any links you need. You can put any copy, anything like that. Once they are on your LinkedIn newsletter, so if you guys haven't gone through this process, basically LinkedIn will notify like followers or people who have connected with you or people who might align with, what you focus on and what you teach. LinkedIn will notify them that you have a newsletter. And then all they have to do is click a button to be subscribed. Now, That does not mean they are on your email list, your email service provider, the one that you own. I want to make that clear. However, I would recommend you start making it consistent that you're sending out those newsletters on LinkedIn, and then you've nurtured them, and then next step is to give them a free resource. You literally can create a newsletter that says, "Get on my newsletter," or if you want this freebie, here's this really great resource, da da da. And then that way you're taking them from LinkedIn over to your email service provider. This is such a great way to grow your email list because the way that LinkedIn sets it up is they make it very easy for people to jump on that newsletter. And then once you nurture them and give them really good, valuable content, when you ask them to subscribe, it's going to be a no brainer. And then, of course, when they get onto your actual email list, make sure you have a welcome sequence and make sure that that welcome sequence has a big section about your podcast. All right, step 4, tap into other podcast audiences. So, anytime you go on a podcast as a guest, ask if you can promote a freebie to drive email signups. Maybe don't say, I want to give a freebie because I want to drive email signups. Say, I would love to give your audience even more valuable content. Is it okay if I offer a lead magnet while you interview me? The reason I say ask is because some shows actually don't allow you to do that. So don't go and assume that you can do it. Always make sure, check first. It'll just make a better experience for everybody. This is a great way to expand your audience. It's almost kind of like borrowing your audience to grow your audience. And then it can help with really highly targeted subscribers. So it's a great strategy. Strategy 5, do a newsletter swap with a creator in your niche or somebody who has a very similar audience. So partner with an entrepreneur and cross promote each other's email lists and podcasts. So drive people specifically to a landing page with a lead magnet in exchange for their email. This will allow you to track conversions to see if that person's audience is actually resonating with you and your content, and if you want to continue the collaboration or not. And when you do reach out, if you are the one reaching out, make sure this is super seamless and it's almost like a no brainer for them to do. So that means that you are coming to them and you're saying, listen, I would love to collaborate with you. Let's do a newsletter swap or a podcast swap where we swap basically like baked in ads, or we do blurbs in our newsletter to share about each other's newsletters or podcasts, both. I will provide you with copy, graphics, assets, links, whatever you need to make it super, super simple and easy. So give them what they need. So all they have to do is like copy, paste, and then publish. Make it easy for them and they'll say yes. Just a reminder, you can head to podcastmarketinghub.com/playbook, where I will have all these steps plus more, some templates, some examples of really how to use these. So make sure you grab that. All right, moving on. Strategy 6, create a podcast-centric quiz. If you know me, you know I love a good quiz. Quizzes are such powerful lead generators. I mean, from a organic standpoint, from a paid standpoint. So when you create this, you basically want that quiz to match listeners with the right podcast episodes based on their interests and their answers. This is such a great way to really curate an episode or a playlist for people who are new to your audience. And they might see 700 episodes and they might go, I have no idea where to start. So give them some of your best, top rated, top listened to episodes according to how they answer the quiz. And then, of course, on the back end, have a nurture sequence that introduces them to your podcast, warms them up, gives them more information on what you offer, and nurtures them, right? Bonus, you can run paid ads to your quiz. This is such a great strategy. And ads running to a quiz are significantly cheaper than some other types. If you're running it to like a boot camp, or if you're running it to a digital course or a launch or things like that. So just keep that in mind. All right, strategy 7, leverage your existing social audience. So just because people are in your private Facebook group or follow you on Instagram doesn't mean that A, they're on your email list, or B, that they're listening to your podcast. So find ways to put your podcast and your email list in front of them as often as possible. One really easy, almost, it sounds really silly almost, but it works, is to show them how to follow your podcast on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube. people like a step by step. Sometimes they don't even realize that they're not following you, that they're not getting automatic downloads. And if they are diehard listeners or if they're becoming diehard listeners, they want to be. So give them the prompt and the ask to do that. And something that you could do is you can offer them like a free resource or a gift for doing it. And basically, you could set it up with Typeform and then have them basically fill out where they followed you, who they are. You could ask them a couple questions, or you could keep it simple and then just have the automatic delivery of that lead magnet. So, something to think about. And then another thing is if you do have a Facebook group, make sure that it's active. I know Facebook groups are really popular. Some are, some aren't anymore. If you find that your group is stagnant, try to revive it for a month. If it's not working, simply offer them extra resources and get them on your email list. Just say, I'm closing this group. If as a thank you for being here, here is a free resource. Or what I'm loving is a low ticket offer. So as a gift for being here, I'm giving you this XYZ for $27. Usually it's 97, something like that. But then it gets really the hot leads, the people who are really actually going to follow you over onto your email list where you can share your podcast and then also potentially get them as a paying customer. Step number 8, direct message new followers on Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever else. Now, small creators, listen up because this is a superpower for you. You have a unique advantage to really start personal engagement when somebody new follows you, right? So start a conversation with them. Just ask them, what type of content do you need most? What type of content do you like that you've listened to so far? Are you on my email list? Did you know that I email XYZ every week? And give them a quick link to join your newsletter. You can give them a freebie, get in dialogue with them. If you book consultations for your business, get them on a call for a consultation. If you sell a product, see if you can send them a sample or something like that. So use that to your advantage, especially if you are a smaller podcaster. Strategy 9, build your podcast into your email welcome sequence. I hinted at this earlier, but most email lists have a welcome sequence. I hope. I really, really hope you guys have welcome sequences. But does it mention your podcast? And if it doesn't, make sure that you are creating a dedicated email. So in your nurture sequence, in your welcome sequence, have one email that is completely focused on sharing about your podcast. Share your top 3 episodes, how to subscribe. So how to follow, how to subscribe, how to automatic download, something like that. You can even do like a screen record and then share that in there and then share quick links. So your Apple link, if you can do a deep link for your Apple link, which will help them to follow quickly. If you don't know what a deep link is, be sure you go and listen to my episode. I think it's episode 3. And then Spotify, YouTube, wherever they can find that content, right? If somebody is new to your world, make it so easy for them to know where to start and how to find your podcast. Get them hooked from the moment that they show interest in your content, because that is actually one of like the most heightened moments that you can actually get them over to your podcast and all the things. All right, last strategy. Hopefully, you guys are still hanging in with me. Run a giveaway with another podcast. So, I'm just going to say that I think 2025 is the year of collaboration. I think that a lot of the people I talk to in the industry feel that way. So, seek out fun ways to do this. Maybe you partner with a podcaster who's in your niche or co host a giveaway. Maybe you make up some fun entry requirements where they subscribe to both your podcast, join the email list. Again, you can use a type form for this and just trust people on goodwill that they will be truthful. And then you can offer something valuable like a free strategy session, a mini course, a sample of your product, a free 7-day trial of your app, or an exclusive content bundle. This is a great way to tap into new engaged listeners who are already podcast listeners, right? If they're listening to somebody else's podcast, chances are they're willing to hop over and check yours out as well. Okay. Whoop. That was really fun. I hope you guys are walking away with some awesome nuggets. So if you're loving these strategies and you want the step-by-step guide for implementing them, again, be sure to go to podcastmarketinghub.com/playbook, where you can get my podcast and email list growth playbook. You're going to love it. There'll be checklists, scripts, templates, all the good things. So again, podcastmarketinghub.com/playbook to download it now. All right, let's do a quick recap of those strategies. 1, consider running a dynamic or baked in ad for your lead magnet. 2, create lead magnet bundles from your best episodes. 3, start a LinkedIn newsletter and use it to drive podcast downloads. 4, share freebies when guesting on other podcasts. 5, do a newsletter swap with a creator in your niche. 6, create a podcast-centric quiz. 7, leverage your existing social audience. 8, direct message your new followers and recommend podcast episodes. 9, build your podcast into your email welcome sequence. And then 10, run a giveaway with another podcaster. That was a fun episode. I hope you guys are loving this content, loving this thought, and I hope the wheels are turning for how you can really grow your email list and your podcast simultaneously. So pick one strategy, start there. Just one strategy. Do not try and do these all right away unless you have a team to support you. If you're loving this, be sure you DM me on Instagram. It's at the Podcast Marketing Hub. And tell me what you're trying. Tell me what you loved about this episode. And of course, be sure to follow, subscribe, leave a review, share. And for more free resources, head to podcastmarketinghub.com/playbook. And then I will keep you in the loop for anything I have going on. Until next time, keep creating, keep growing, and let's turn your podcast into the powerhouse it's meant to be within your business.